This is class 6 ncert chapter 5, Kings and Republic, Early Republic. This is a Sangren woke up to see his grandparents all ready to go and vote. They wanted to be the first to reach the polling booth. Why Sangren wanted to know where they so were they so excited? Somewhat impatiently, his grandfather explained, "We can choose our own ruler today. Choosing leader or ruler by voting is something that has become a common during the last 50 years or so. How did the men become the rulers in the past? Around 3,000 years ago, some men became recognized as rajas by performing big sacrifice. The Ashwamedha or horse sacrifice was one such ritual. A horse was let loose to wander freely and was guarded by the Raja's men. If the horses wandered into the kingdom of other Rajas and they stopped it, they had to fight. If they allowed the horse to pass, it meant that they accepted the Raja who wanted to perform the sacrifice was stronger than them. These Rajas were then invited to the sacrifice, which was performed by specially trained priests who were rewarded with gifts. The Raja who organized the sacrifice was recognized as being very powerful, and all those who came brought gifts for him. The Raja was a central figure in these rituals. He often had a special seat, a throne, or a tiger skin. His charioteer, who was his companion in the battlefield and witnessed his exploit, chanted the tales of his glory. His relatives, especially his wives and sons, they had to perform a variety of minor rituals. The other Rajas were simply spectators who had to sit and watch the performance of the sacrifice. Priests performed the ritual, including the sprinkling of sacred water on the king. The ordinary people who wished or the Vaishya, they also brought gifts. However, some people, such as those who were regarded as Shudras by the priest, they were excluded from many rituals. So there were four social categories: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Brahmins were expected to study and teach the Vedas, perform sacrifices, receive gifts. Kshatriya were expected to fight battles, protect the people. Vaishya, they were expected to be farmer. They were herders, they were traders. The Shudras were expected to serve the other three kings and the three groups. Okay, the Janpada Rajas who performed these big sacrifices were now recognized as being the Raja of Janpad rather than Rajanath. The word Janpad literally means the land where the Janas set its foot and settled down. Some important Janpad are shown on the map. This is the painted grey ware. Plate and bowl are the most common vessels made out of the painted grey ware. They are extremely fine to touch with a nice smooth surface. Perhaps these were used on special occasion for important people and to serve special food. Archaeologists, they have excavated a number of settlements in these genres, such as Purana Killa in Delhi, Hastinapur near Meerut, and Atranji Kira near Etta in Uttar Pradesh. And the last two are in Uttar Pradesh. They found that the people lived in huts. They kept cattle as well as other animals. They also grew a variety of crops: rice, wheat, barley, pulses, sugarcane, sesame, and mustard. They made earthen pots. Some of these were grown in color, others were grey in color, others were red in color. Earthen pot, grey and red. One special type of pottery found at these sites is known as painted grey ware. As is obvious from the name, these grey pots had painted designs, usually simple lines and geometric pattern. About 2,500 years ago, some Janpads became more important than others and were known as Mahajanpad. Some of these are shown on map. Most Mahajanpad had a capital city. Many of these cities were fortified. This means that a huge walls of wood, brick or stone were built around them. Forts were probably built because people were afraid of attacks from other king. फोर्ट्स क्यों बनते थे? जो कि दे वर अफ्रेड ऑफ अटैक्स फ्रॉम अदर किंग एंड दे नीड. अच्छा, एक मिनट, ये पहले पढ़ लेते हैं. यहाँ पे देखो, सबसे ऊपर गंधारा के बाद टक्षशिला, फिर ये आपका कुरु का नीचे हस्तिनापुर के बाद पंचाला का कैपिटल कोसाला. दिस इज पंचाला कोसाला. फिर आता है वैशाली के नीचे वज्जी के नीचे मगध की कैपिटल राजगृह. दिस इज कौशंबी. शायद गुरु की हस्तिनापुर है, पंचाला की कौशंबी है, कोसाला की वैशाली है, और ये आपका राजगृह हो गया. वज्जी की अंगा, ऐसा कुछ था, कैपिटल याद नहीं आ रही. अवंती, उज्जैन. नेक्स्ट पार्ट देखते हैं इसका हम लोग. The fort was built for protection. It is also likely that some rulers wanted to show how rich and powerful they were by building really large, very tall and impressive walls around their cities. Also in this way, the land and the people living inside the fortified area, they could be controlled more easily by the king. Building such huge walls required a great deal of planning. Thousands, if not lakhs of bricks or stone had to be prepared. इतनी बड़ी प्लानिंग करनी चाहिए, उसके लिए ब्रिक्स और स्टोन्स लाने चाहिए. दिस इन टर्न मेंट इनॉर्मस लेबर प्रोवाइडेड पॉसिबली बाय थाउजेंड ऑफ द मेन, वुमेन एंड चिल्ड्रन, एंड रिसोर्सेज हैड टू बी फाउंड फॉर ऑल ऑफ दिस. तो क्या क्या लग गया? प्लानिंग के बाद लेबर के बाद रिसोर्सेज, ये सब चीज़ें. दिस इज द फोर्टिफिकेशन वॉल. ये कहाँ पे? कौशंबी. दिस इज द पिक्चर ऑफ द remains of a wall made of brick found near the present day Allahabad, Uttar Pradesh. A part of it was probably built about 2,500 years ago. नेक्स्ट है, ओके, The new Rajas now began maintaining army. Soldiers were paid regular salaries. They were maintained by the king throughout the year. Some payments were probably made using the Panchmark coin. Lists in which the Rajas of Mahajanpad were different from those mentioned in the Rigveda. Okay. As the rulers of the Mahajanpad, they were building huge forts, they were maintaining big armies, they needed more resources, and they needed officials to collect these. So instead of depending on occasional gift brought by the people, as in the case of the Raja of the Janpada, they started collecting regular tax. Tax किसमें लगाते थे? Crop पे, grass person पे, taxes on crop, taxes on grass person. Herders paid taxes as animals and the animal produced taxes on the goods who trade, hunters and the gatherers had to provide the forest produced to the Rajas. Now there are two major changes in agriculture around this time. One was the growing use of the iron ploughshare. This means that heavy clay soil could be turned over better than with a wooden ploughshare. पहले आयरन का ploughshare अब यूज़ करें, पहले वुडन करते थे, तो ईजिली हम लोग उसे टर्न कर सकते हैं so that more grain could be produced. Second, the people began transplanting paddy. This meant that instead of scattering the seed on the ground from which the plants would sprout, saplings were grown and then planted in the field. This led to the increased production as many more plants survived. So Magad became the most important Mahajanpad in about 200 years ago. Many rivers such as Ganga and the Son, they flowed through the Magad. मगध में कौन सी रिवर? गंगा एंड सोन. सो दिस वाज इम्पोर्टेंट, जो कि इसको ट्रांसपोर्ट, वाटर सप्लाईज, मेकिंग द लैंड फर्टाइल. ट्रांसपोर्ट के लिए यूज़ कर सकते थे, वाटर सप्लाईज के लिए, एंड मेकिंग द लैंड फर्टाइल. The parts of the Magad was forested. Elephants which live in this forest could be captured and trained for the army. Forest also provided wood for building houses. The carts and the chariot, besides there were iron ore mines in the region that would be capped to make the strong tools and the weapons. तो इतनी सारी चीज़ें हो गई थी. तो Magad had also two very important rulers, Bimbisara and Ajatasattu, who used all possible means to conquer other Janpad. Mahapadmananda was another important ruler. He extended his control up to the northwest part of the subcontinent. Rajgir, present-day Rajgir in Bihar, was the capital of Magad for several years. Later, the capital was shifted to Patliputra by Udayin. More than 2300 years ago, the ruler named Alexander, who lived in Macedonia, Europe, wanted to become a world conqueror. Of course, he didn't conquer the world, but did conquer parts of the Egypt and the West Asia. And he came to the Indian subcontinent, reaching up to the banks of the river Bias. When he wanted to march further eastward, his soldiers refused. They were scared, as they had heard that the rulers of India had vast armies of the foot soldiers, the chariot and the elephant. So, in what ways are the armies different from those in the Rigveda? Nothing. Vajji. While Magad became a powerful kingdom, Vajji, with its capital at Vaishali, Vajji की capital थी Vaishali in Bihar, Vajji की capital थी Vaishali, Bihar. Vaishali was under a different form of government, also known as Gan or Sangh. In the Gan or the Sangh, there were not one, but many rulers, and each one was known as Raja. These Rajas performed rituals together. They also met in assemblies and decided what had to be done and how, through discussion, debate. For example, if they were attacked by an enemy, they met to discuss what should be done to meet the threat. However, women, the Das, the Kamkaras, they could not participate in these assemblies. This is not an account of the Vajjis from the This is an account of the Vajji from the Dika Nikaya. ये famous Buddhist Dika Nikaya किसकी book है? Dika Nikaya Buddhist book है, which contains some of the speeches of the Buddha. They were written about 2300 years ago. Ajatasattu and the Vajji. Ajatasattu wanted to attack the Vajji. He sent his minister named Vasakara to the Buddha to get his advice on the matter. The Buddha asked whether the Vajjis met frequently in full assemblies. When he heard that they did, he replied that the Vajjis would continue to prosper as long as they had full and frequent public assembly. They met and acted together. They followed established rule. They respected, supported, and listened to elders. Keyword Raja, Ashwamedh, Varna, Janpat, Mahajan, Fortification, Army, 6 translation. Okay. Vajji, women were not held by force or captured. Chaitya, the local shrines, they were maintained in both the towns and the villages. Wise saints who followed different beliefs, they were respected. They were allowed to enter and leave the country freely. The Rajas of the powerful kingdom tried to conquer the Sanghas. Nevertheless, these lasted for a very long time, till about 1500 years ago, when the last of the Gan or the Sanghas was conquered by the Gupta ruler. Thank you so much.